everyone, it's Jan Bors, new video, new series, at least a little bit, because in this series and in this video I will be talking about how I recreate concept art for Eurovision stagings of various countries. I did it for all of them, and with some of them I went a little bit more specific because I was very curious what AI can create when I deliver some prompts, like some details. And I can tell you honestly now that this instrument is kind of very perfect, but it also depends how perfectly you prompt it, how perfectly you write down the idea in every single detail. And also because those data models are not perfect yet, it's still not accurate. But for example, to tell the directors of Eurovision or somebody or your artist and whoever you are creating this for, to create your visualization instead of rewriting and spending so much time of creating the visualization concept art for staging, how you perceive their act. This can be a perfect baseline where you can start to talk about, because it's fast, it's understandable, and also the visualizations come after all in few seconds, so you can afford to just be more concrete, and also it can help you to talk a little bit better your ideas with the others after all. And this is what I will do in this video. Let's talk. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Subscribe, like, share, become a member, or buy me a coffee or give me a super like to support this channel. I would be very glad if you do it for the content I'm creating for you. But of course, the most important is to enjoy those videos, and those will be very specific. In this concrete one, I will be talking about Croatia, Serbia, Portugal, and Ireland, because I was very curious of their stagings, how I perceived them, and how after my perception and writing the prompts down, actually the AI is perceived them. And I had some work around it, of course limited. With some results I'm very happy, with some so-so, but let's see if you like it and what I will tell. And let's start, for example, with Croatia. This is the first prompt I created for Croatia this year. I just basically wrote Croatia is represented by Baby Lasagna. It's a singer. He used the story of the song is about that he's going from Croatia to find better life somewhere else, and it's metalish, rockish, and basically, and it's called Rim Tim Tagidim, and that was it. And AI immediately created this stage, complicated, medieval slash western slash a little bit of steampunk atmosphere in it, with a huge road, which I actually like, in the LED screen, where kind of Marco stays and goes maybe probably forward, in my opinion. I like as a start I was very impressed, like, because this wasn't after some specific prompting, but I really like the way down. I really like the lightning atmosphere. I really like this feeling. Of course we cannot have so many people on the stage, but imagine that on some show like Brits or something like awards giving show or something, where you can play a little bit more with very specific design of one act, because you have, for example, like 4 in the whole show like this. This can be very nice approach how to make this happen, because even though for Marco the song is the way from Croatia somewhere else to the world, actually maybe this is also the road way back to Croatia, where the Eurovision 2025 maybe will be hosted. I like it. But anyway, I continued with another ideas for Marco, and they were more specific because of course I added some more things, and this became very funny because it, like, if some prompts or some ideas or some AI changes were made when I asked for very almost the same things in the song, is for Croatia, the change, because I added those cats and so on, like neon cats and more cultural references into it. And this is what they just done, cats in the dress. I don't know, this is a very typical Croatian thing because that's what I added. I'm not sure, but definitely what DALL-E did with this, or ChatGPT, via ChatGPT did with this is this absolute craziness. Honestly, I think when you imagine this moving, this would also work, and for some comedy that would be like brilliant. When I saw those cats, in the middle were very like tough, I was like, okay, here we go somewhere. Well, especially the one with the guitar, I like her so much. But I, of course, then said like, hey, come on, it's a neon cat. It's a neon cat. But I imagine those all guys around with the masks. I specify that there is a drummer, there is two guitarists and one key player, and Marco in the middle with a huge sleeves. This is the creation. So definitely very far from perfect, but kind of close, if we say the LED screen, to some concept area where you can think in the way that, okay, this is not a bad thing. This is not a bad thing, even though it feels a little bit more creepier. And then the last one, combine those two together: the cats sleeves, cats everywhere, and huge. This looks like from some anime kind of cartoon. It's very scary for me, and also this idea is kind of a far from what I would perceive this song is about. But I will maybe play with it a little bit more and specify to the way where I really see it. But definitely, which idea for Croatia I like the most from it, after all, is the first one. It's this village with the walk, because it's somehow concrete, it talks for itself. I like that the walk is not perfect on LED. I think you can create such effects, and even though it tells the story, it somehow tells you more without saying it out loud, because then you can put also neon cats over there and some funny stuff and whatsoever. But this stage element with the LED floor, with this broken street, broken road into unknown, I think is a essence of storytelling without being visually weird, and also without you to need to tell the story very concrete without losing those funny elements, because I can simply feel that they are like neon cats, maybe AR made or some hologramic made or post-production made cats are walking this road, infinite, and dancing on the road when Marco is singing. That would tell the story perfectly. Everybody would kind of understand it, but more likely, without even needing to understand it, everybody would feel fun. And it would be something very different. So this thing, what I see over here, actually, it's really good. But let's move on for Ireland, because for Ireland I had a very specific idea in my head. The first thing what appeared in the DALL-E via ChatGPT was this very simple witchcrafty symbolic, which I liked. It was after I didn't set any crazy prompt. I just described the song just very, very superficially. What is it about? A little bit of plot, the music style, and so on. This was the first idea, very close to something what I can really imagine is happening. Dark, very bluish colors, very ritualistic, and very scary, horror movie like. With I can feel that in here I can actually recreate the LED elements with some very realistic elements, which make it more plastic, which would make it more plastic, and also to change the color, so it would feel like. My general idea for Ireland was more a ritual with the pentagram, with red and green. Of course, that can refers to this melon, blah blah blah, whatever. But also, I feel that this kind of poisonous red green thing just belongs somehow to the song. Even the red and blue also would work. But for me, this somehow inspired by Avada Kedavra in the song was greenish, this kind of metaphor. And I feel that my prompt was, let's recreate the stage, put Bambie in the middle of the pentagram. On each corner or end of the pentagram is one cultist covered in cloak, red eyes, and the life energy going through them, going also through the pentagram to Bambie in the middle and spread outside in a big energy column. Something like this. And this is what DALL-E did. First, was this crazy ritualistic thing with the candles and also the pentagram made by skulls. I also asked that she's holding a microphone, or Bambie is holding a microphone with the, which looks like a candle holder with the skulls, somehow something very dark, very creepy with cultists. So this is basically what is done. Only what I don't like on this really are those big skeletons or big cultists around, because I expected that it will still put the crowd around, so I would have this arena feeling. But the other one, that's even better. And this is something by atmosphere, how I can imagine the staging at Eurovision this year. It's not really, of course, we have the LED concrete pentagram whatsoever, but I think at some point this could really, really work. I don't know why it still was using this tagidim. It's almost everywhere then. Like I will see some concept arts. I also let Dali to create. But this is very fascinating. Also with the mist, the green, the red, the creatures around, and the fire, and those devilish symbolic arena around. This as a base concept, or where we want to go by colors, lightning, mist, effects, base atmosphere. I think as a reference this works very well, and I'm very surprised. Like from this you can start thinking like how to do it, even visually, for people who don't maybe have such a good visualization imagination. I think this is also important to understand how those instruments can be very powerful in the way how fast you can visualize something instead of just talking about it, because not everybody just looks in your head, they cannot see it. So this is actually fantastic. But then there is another one for this, which is basically this concept art which recreates those color greenish it's a reus rimtim tagi idim very funny things it does for me, but I tried it to put it into the more context. So this is basically like a visual artist starter pack, something like this. So this was Bambie Thug, but let's go and move on to Serbia. And with Serbia we started like this. The prompt was grief atmosphere, darker, but with this element of hope, which is after all supported by this amazing flower Ramonda, Lila Ramonda, which goes up, and it created this amazing image with a brilliant greenish atmosphere, more likely reminds of Portugal with Salvador Sobral, feeling of this calm, etheric, sun after all rise, which I think could be amazing ending of the song, when the grief atmosphere will completely change to something very nice, gentle, heartwarming, as a hope. So greenish, sunrise, this flower, it can start with the flower and recreating with the sunrise, everything, all the nature, everybody's becoming rising, refreshed, renewed, reborn. I think this is the very nice image representation of what I just said, honestly. But I didn't stop with this, and I was very curious when I put it into more dark atmosphere, more griefy atmosphere, into the atmosphere which Teya Dora sings, and it's kind of presented, or was presented also at Dora, and how to improve their concept into something what I would like a little bit more with concept art, of course. And it started like this. It created me this black and white, almost monochromatic feeling of this rising flower going up with the light from above, showing like, okay, there is always a hope, there is a God, there is something we should think for a better future. A hope, a message of hope. And of course this is empty set, of course it doesn't look like Eurovision, but still take it as a visual art of the atmosphere, what you want to create, what is the message. Then I went also with the artist, like make it a little bit bigger, make it a little bit more 3D, more popping out, and Dali came with this, which in my opinion it's amazing picture, where I can imagine that all those things floating in the air, because if you imagine the artist, it's in front on the central stage, and the LED is just really behind the artist, there will be a big space to recreate this illusion of 3D without using AR if you use a good 3D graphics, because then the distance would be enough for it not to look very like in 2000, in like last year Eurovision, when everything, whoever was very close to the LED was flat, lost, and nothing really worked together. This picture represents exactly this atmosphere, but I wasn't really satisfied, and I asked to more concrete details, mist, crowd, and a little bit of pinkish to add this hope, but put also a little bit color, the life into the song at the end. And it used the original idea somehow and recreated into this masterpiece picture. And I like this visualization a lot, and something like that, maybe a little, like maybe not that ultra concrete with those little middle parts of the flower, but this atmosphere, this gentle touch of purple with the mist, which also should be a little bit purplish, which is in the middle picture down. You can see, I think this is the perfection, how you play with the lights in the fog, how this recreates the atmosphere around the artist. Of course, this would be very hard to do like this, but as a visual art, to say like, I want to recreate this atmosphere, this is a good starting point of the whole thing. And in this visualization, for me, it's a perfection. It's how I would imagine that this song would kind of go, and I would just recreate it frame by frame a little bit. How I would imagine this to change the little atmospheres with the grayish to get to this pinkish, more light onset. It's like starting in the night and ending on the sunrise, and this would infuse you by hope just visually, and then the song actually it would be really a thing. I love this. What do you say in the comments below? And let's move on to the last one, which is Portugal, which gives me as the most work probably. And I started with the very basically recreation of what they did in the national selection. I told them like how it basically looked, and this is what Dali brought, and I like it. I like it, visual artistic style. This is something what it's very pleasant to watch. Maybe even too much. I ask for light, white, and more white. Dancers' heads covered in masks. The singer in the white dress. I wanted more white dress than the dress which Iolanda was wearing. And this visualization for me, this is a perfect, kind of almost perfect picturization of what we saw in Portugal's national selection. But I of course went a little bit deeper, and I wanted to recreate a bit more concrete how I really would like to perceive, to add this grito, this scream into it, more light. And first it came with this again, and also I wanted to put Iolanda on the pedestal in here, and this is what it recreated. It looks very, how to say, very churches. That's very like a believers, more like a prayer, more also some kind of ritual, which I didn't like the most. Even I like the visualization. For me, this is not what the song represents. For me, this song represents a scream for hope, something like this, in very specific, non-extremely realistic way, not so concrete. I would like everything is a little bit hidden in an unknown, I don't want to know the story, I want to feel it, I want to move with the sound, I want to move with the light. So this was the first idea of it. Then I said like, I want this to scream, I want this face to I want this face to be screaming, but behind the curtain, like when you put your face through some fabric and it's not visible. But of course Dali recreated this to be extremely even more realistic, very very creepy, with the very modern dancers around. This is not an idea I like, but I was like surprised. Okay, if you're recreating something like this, you must really something abstract. Abstract is hard to even tell to the computer how you want the things to look abstract, so you must really work with the prompts. And I went to another one which I kind of like. I wanted to do this realistic feeling with the Portuguese flags and big crowd cheering around. I would kind of like this If you imagine that Iolanda is much closer to the first crowd with, more concrete, and the face is not that huge, not that concrete, but throughout the face, throughout the mouth, and throughout the eyes, and throughout the fabric which is surrounding it, you kind of tell that there is a light going through. And that would be amazing because you can play with the shapes in this, also with the fabric. And from time to time you can lighten it up, closing it up, lighten it up, closing it up. And also play with this curtain element, which also I would use on the floor, which this program didn't recreate it, and I never was satisfied with anything. And when I tried to prompt this, it created this. So it's completely far away from what I would like, even though I like the picture, kind of the image. This feels like a horror movie, And for me, this song is if it's something, it's definitely not a horror movie. But this is what we went from. This is what we got, and this is what I like. I was very curious, and I'm also very curious of your reaction on this. If you also tried it, and if you want to try me another ones, because I have prepared most of them, lots of them, and definitely I would like to continue in this series. And it's up to you if it's going to be only exclusive for the members, or you would like it, and I will also leave it for you here on my page, even though it will be exclusive content, but I will exclusive it only time-wise, or I will just get locked for members. And also, if you become a members, you just don't need to deal with this dilemma anyway. So I hope you like this video. Write me in the comments below what do you think about it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you want to support me but not becoming a member, you can support me by buying me a coffee or giving me a super like. It would be amazing from you, and I see you in the next video. And also don't miss my other videos I already did playing with the AI, actually those recreation of those interviews. It's funny, it's fascinating, it's something else, and can give you a perspective how to use AI, maybe also just for Eurovision, but also for your project, for your work, and for anything else. And that's it from me from now. Thank you for watching.